Hello, welcome to my channel, Another Bibliophile Reads. My name is Greg, and I am here to do an update on my 100 book challenge. If you are not familiar with this challenge, this is where I have to read 100 books that I already own before I can buy any new books. And I am up to 42 books read. Now, there are a few exceptions to this rule. Books such as books that I'm reading for a book group or other challenges, and this is one of them that I had to buy. This is the Penguin Book of Modern African Poetry, because I am in a tournament of Reading Africa Cup 2021, which is played in 2022. And this is for the soccer games or football games against the African countries. And I have Mauritania, and Mauritania has yet to play. This is the first day that games are being played in this cup. So we shall see how it goes. But this is one of the books that I had to buy so I could compete in this challenge. Now, I had an interesting week here in Virginia. On Monday morning, a huge snowstorm came through and knocked out power along the region of Fredericksburg. And Fredericksburg was the hardest hit area of this snowstorm. And it knocked out power in my house for a little over 50 hours. And it's a little unusual living without power for that long in this day and age. Fortunately, I did have some tools. I have these solar-powered batteries, which I can stick up in my sunroom. My sunroom is southern-facing and has windows on the west, south, and east. So I get a lot of sun in there, and it can charge this up fully in one day. I can charge iPhones and iWatches and so forth with devices like this. It is really not sufficient for all my devices and my wife's devices, because we have a lot of electronic devices to charge. So I've gone ahead and bought a third solar-powered battery backup, and we'll be testing that out. I will probably do a mini review of these chargers sometime later. I'm going to give it some tests to see how well they actually work. Well, the books that I have read this week. The first book that I read for 2022 was for the African National Cup that I already mentioned. This is my book from Mauritania. This is The Desert and the Drum by Mbarek, Ould, Beyrouk. It was originally written in French and translated to English. It is a contemporary novel, but when I was reading this, I felt certain that it was a much older era, 40s, 50s, maybe 60s. Only when I got to a page, excuse me, about 140 was anything modern like a cell phone mentioned. And only then to become absolutely clear that this was contemporary Mauritania. Now, a lot of the issues is that this deals with the Bedouins of Mauritania, and they live very simple, rustic lives. And the novel is the story of a young woman who steals a sacred drum from her tribe because she had a child out of wedlock, and they took that child away from her to give it away to someone else because she was unmarried. And that was her revenge against the tribe. This novel is okay. It did introduce me to a whole new lifestyle that I knew nothing about, but it's not that good of a novel. The second book I read was Capitalism, a ghost story by Arundhati Roy. She is an Indian novelist, but this was a collection of essays about the political situation in India and the Kashmir region. I really enjoyed this series of essays. I had read one other book about the Kashmir region, The Far Fields. I don't remember the author. That was a very good novel in my opinion. And this collection of essays actually helped solidify my knowledge of that region. After that, a book that I read for my humorous book group. This is run by Mark at Book Time with Elvis, and this was Thank You, Jeeves. This is the fourth in the Jeeves series, but the first novel about Bertie and Jeeves, and I thought this was quite humorous. A big part of the humor has to do with what would now be a very politically incorrect situation where Bertie dresses up in blackface. I thought it was very funny, but nowadays blackface is, as I said, very politically incorrect. After that, I read another audiobook. This was from LibriVox. This is a free download for anyone who wants to get it. This was The 39 Steps by John Buchan. And this was a thriller written in 1915. It was made into a very famous movie by Alfred Hitchcock. I may have seen this movie earlier in my life, but I have no real recollection of ever watching it. So this was a fine thriller. It's very fast-paced. It is a story of a man from South Africa who comes to England, and he's getting very bored until he gets wrapped up into this events for the Germans to assassinate someone important. And I'll leave it at that. It is pretty thrilling. It doesn't have any real advanced technologies. The hero is not some sort of super duper James Bond sort of hero. It is what you would expect a man coming from South Africa to be able to do. And the last book that I finished reading was Beloved by Toni Morrison. And this is the book that I read for my theme week. And my theme was Make a Governor Cry. And this is because the governor of Virginia basically campaigned on eliminating literature that could disturb people from Virginia public schools. I'm going to do a whole video about this book, but this book is very intense. It has some very dark scenes, but it is a fabulous book. And I think it's totally appropriate for high school students to be reading this book. Yes, they could be challenged. It could make them feel bad, I guess. But feeling bad about what people did in the past is not necessarily the wrong thing for them to experience. Very good book. And that's all that I read. Now, other books that I am currently reading. For the Eclectic Book Group, I am reading the Odyssey by Homer. This is a reread for me. Last month we did the Iliad. I'm enjoying the Odyssey a lot more than I enjoyed the Iliad. The Odyssey is much more character focused. You get the feel for Odysseus. And it's a very complicated book, very complicated storytelling wise. But I'm truly enjoying this. I am also doing a reread of J.R. by William Gaddis. This is with Alan at Big Hard Books and Classics. I am loving this book. I will eventually have to do a dedicated review once I'm done with it at the end of this month. It was the best book that I read last year, and it's going to come close again this year because I'm enjoying it just as much as I did last year. So what am I going to be reading this week? I am going to be continuing with my Make a Governor Cry week. And this is a book I kind of wanted to get to this week, but power failure and all that, I never got to. This is Primo Levi. This is going to be If This Is a Man. And this is his memoir of his experience in Auschwitz. And the reason I want it as a Make a Governor Cry week is a little bit stretched, but a school board member in Texas decided that if teachers were going to teach the Holocaust, they needed to teach alternative views and perspectives to the Holocaust. I'm not sure what they will be. I don't think this school board member got a whole lot of support, but it would be nice to think that by reading this, maybe I could make the governor of Texas cry, just for fun. I am also started listening to an audiobook, The Magician by Colm Tagwain, and that is an audiobook. And so far, I am really enjoying it. It is a biographical novel about Thomas Mann. I am also reading Candide by Voltaire in digital form. And that's a very humorous book. I have read that one before many years ago. But as again, how many other books do you have where a character talks about her experience where someone ate her left buttock? Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So that is my update for this week. Thank you for watching. Have a good night. Goodbye.